Boys and girls, here we go. The chat has been humming for about an hour. That is, I'll take the blame on this one. That is on me. I'll explain in a minute. This is the Nightcap brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the website, get the app, go to the app. They will deliver right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or head down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up, save yourself 15% off of your order. All right. Well, we've got a lot to unpack. Aaron is still doing Christmas things with the family out of town. So once again, you get me and Keegs. Hi, Keegan.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And Kelsey's here. She's eating her leftover steak from last night from the cheesecake. She had her first Cheesecake Factory experience last night.
Should have got the salmon.
Should have got the salmon. Keegan said the salmon's really good. She had a petite fillet.
Petite.
I mean,
and then she microwaved it the next day.
No, she's not. She didn't. She knows better than to microwave it. She's eating it cold.
Oh, that's even worse.
No, I think actually with steak, it's better to eat it cold than it is to microwave it and take all the flavor out of it. Might as well.
Everything's better cold.
Everything she lived legitimately. She prefers cold fries. She'll leave her food sit for like 20 minutes to get it cooled off. I don't understand it.
Pizza is the best.
I think I've done a bad job parenting.
Psychopath.
She has serial killer tendencies that she likes.
Maybe why cereal.
I didn't say you were a serial killer. I said you had serial killer tendencies. That's a different thing. Let's get going. Dayton 82, Cincinnati 68. I will say the very simple thing that is the most concerning thing from this game. Start to finish, Dayton was the better team. I don't think they're at least in the crosstown shootout, there were ebbs and flows, and the game got close. The game got, there were things in that game that, one team made a couple more plays and had an advantage at the end.
Yeah.
This was not that. This was Dayton. I felt like, I don't know how you felt. I felt like from the opening tip, Dayton was the better team in this game. And a lot of that had to do with, one, offensively, they got the ball to wherever they wanted on the floor pretty much at any given time. They are a good offensive team. So it is not a surprise that they ran good offense. What is shocking is that over the course of 40 minutes, it never felt like there was an extended stretch where Cincinnati kept them from getting whatever they wanted offensively. And that, going into the Big 12, is a nightmare scenario. Two, we are also developing a trend where Cincinnati cannot stop the best player or two players from the other team. Quincy Oliveri demolished Cincinnati last Saturday, and Deron Holmes did the same tonight. 28 points, 10 of 17 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, and then Kobe Elvis, kind of the Robin to Holmes Batman, 27 points, 6-11 from the floor, 14 of 14 from the free throw line. At 55 points from their two best players. And you were up in the 50s. If you look at, if you took Davion McKnight and Quincy Oliveri, right up in that 50 range again, if the opponent's best two players are going to hang a comfortable 50 burger on you, you are going to lose. So we have a lot to unpack offensively from Cincinnati tonight, but I walk away from this game because here's the thing for me, Keegan. Now the conversation shifts. Yes, they have 3 games remaining. Yes, those 3 games are against bad teams. If they lose one of those, the panic is going to be at epic levels. But when you're going into the Big 12, you cannot have the reputation of a team that cannot stop the 2 best players, and not only not stop, but we're not talking guys getting 18. We're talking 27, 28, 30, 20, like there's crooked numbers in the wrong column. And I walked away from that game terrified with what I saw from Cincinnati defensively because Dayton did whatever they wanted. Cincinnati had no chance. When Dayton hit that spurt at the end of the first half and then at the beginning of the second half, and they pushed it to double digits, Cincinnati effectively had 0 chance to make that a game again because they couldn't get 2 stops in a row. They couldn't string together anything. And this team with length and athleticism and depth and size, like, it is hard to get my brain around this team being as bad defensively as they were this week. It was atrocious tonight. And I had a hard time seeing any of it from the vantage point that we had.
Or hearing any of it.
But what I know is what we routinely saw was Dayton getting everything and anything they wanted tip to whistle. It was awful.
Yeah, and I think Dayton is like it's a good team, and you look at the talent that they have. There are a lot of motivated kids, transfers from Robert Morris, Merrimack, some small schools. I think Brea or Santos, one of them came from Pitt. So they have some talent, and then they're led by Anthony Grant, who's just a damn good head coach. Who's I think in his 7th year with Dayton since taking over after Archie Miller was fired. He's had success everywhere he's been. But that, and Wes said it afterwards, none of that excuses getting beat by 14 points on a neutral site 10 minutes from the campus of where you play. 5 maybe.
Well, I don't whatever.
But it basically felt like every possession Dayton got into the paint and made a bucket, or they got into the paint and drew a foul. And then, like, you can say,
or
like,
they found open shooters, like, in rhythm when they took good shots. Like,
yeah.
I'll be honest. Here was my first impression from the night, and you will attest to this. I watched both teams warming up. The rims were as stiff as anything I've ever seen. And that created a major concern for me because Dayton is not a team that shoots it okay. They are a team that shoots shots that don't hit the rim. Like, a tight rim is not going to be a major issue for Dayton. For Cincinnati, especially on the road, with what we've seen now I know Wes dismissed it after the Xavier game, but now we're talking about a team that had shot horrible at Howard, shot horrible at Cintas Center, and now shot horrible at the Heritage Landfill. You're a team that can't shoot well away from home.
Yeah.
Like, miss me with small sample sizes. This is a growing sample size. And guess what? You got 9 games remaining away from home, and there ain't none of them that are a bye game.
The next 2 are BYU and then Baylor. So good luck.
Right. BYU, one of the hottest teams in the country, and Baylor is Baylor.
Baylor's Baylor.
Yeah.
But you look at the free throws, they make 28 of 30. Cincinnati makes 8 of 16.
Well,
So
stop fouling.
a lot of fans are going to say, oh, it was the refs, the foul differential. Like, it was bad technique. Like, a lot of it was bad technique leading to fouls. Holmes had his way in the paint with Aziz for a large part of the game, because I think he realized he knew he wasn't going to overpower him, but he said, I'm going to get this far away from the basket, and you're going to give me one of the moves I can make, and then I'm going to finesse you and get easy buckets. And that's basically what happened.
Well, when you deal with a guy like Aziz, that is a weak side, off-ball rim protector.
Yeah.
Like a guy that you funnel things to.
Yeah.
Not a guy that you're asking, at least yet. Hopefully he gets better in this aspect, but you're not asking him one-on-one, guard this guy straight up. Holmes ate his lunch. Period.
Yeah. And he looked gassed at some points. I know he left the game very early. It looked like his back flared up. I don't know if it was a spasm or something of that nature.
I think he just landed goofy on that lob.
Yeah. But still, like, when my back flares up, I'm out for 3 days. Like, I can barely move for 3 days.
Oh, wait till you're my age. When my back flares up, I'm out for 3 weeks.
But yeah, and he's 2 for 6 from the line. So there were some points late in the game where they were clawing back, and then he draws a foul, goes to the line, misses both, and then Dayton gets the ball back.
Yeah.
And Wes said after the last game, he's like, he's a good shooter. He's not worried about it. And still, with him doing that, it's still a small sample size. But that was pretty discouraging because the shot looked off. And if teams are going to say, we can foul this dude and he's not going to make free throws, that's going to be tough. And that's going to be really hard to build momentum. And in the 2 games we've seen them lose, it's been the other team gets ahead and then they have no chance to claw back. Like, they came back a little bit against Xavier, but it was a really short spurt. And then all it took was 2 buckets from Quincy Oliveri, and then it was basically wrapped.
No, Davion McKnight's 3 was the dagger.
Yeah.
They got it to 4. McKnight hit the 3 to push it to 7. I think they didn't get it back closer than 5. So, but again, you cannot continue to let. I feel like it's almost as weird as it sounds. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of parallels to what we dealt with in football over the Xavier and Dayton game. They never had the lead. Like they never played from ahead. It's so tough to impose your will on somebody. It's virtually impossible to impose your will on somebody when you're constantly trailing, when you're constantly trying to make up ground, and you're scratching and clawing the entire way. And that's what it felt like both of these times, Keegan. It just never felt like there was any game control. Like, you didn't make them have to make a run. There's one other thing I wanted to get to before we dig into the chat and all the other stuff that's going on. People have talked a lot about the schedule and the impact on the schedule when you get to these the bigger games. If you go back and look, it doesn't really matter. There's no correlation between they played a tougher schedule, and that means after that's part of the schedule ends, they just dominate. There's no correlation to they played a light schedule, and at some point after that light schedule, they get their ass kicked. It might be coming. Given what the first 6 games of the Big 12 looks like, it might be coming. But I think there is something in that, in those games against lesser opponents. We have seen in almost every game outside of Dayton, outside of Xavier, and really outside of Howard, except for like the end when they went ahead and then Howard hit the three at the end to send it to overtime. They are not going to be in a position outside of between now and New Year's Day, Merrimack, Stetson, whatever's left, Evansville. There are no 30-5 runs coming. And I think that's where you get a little comfortable is you feel like, okay, we're going to hit that 20-point spurt, right? Where it's 20-4. Like let's throw 30-5 out the window because that should be an anomaly, even though they've done it a couple times. But when you get into these games against teams that are, when you look at Ken Palm, Cincinnati's right there with, that 6-game stretch that's coming up to start conference play. You're not putting a 20-4 run on any. You can't count on that. And I think far too often you do get lulled into a sense of, okay, we're going to be okay. Like, just keep doing what we're doing, and they're going to go cold, and we're going to get hot. There was none of that tonight. There was what? One stretch towards the end of the game where it went from 16 or 18 or whatever to 9. And then guess what, Keegan?
6-0.
Guess what?
What?
They couldn't stop them. They couldn't get a stop. They got it to 9, and they couldn't get a stop. And it ended up at 14 because you can't play that game with good teams. And some of it, yes, tonight, I will give some credence to what Wes said post-game. Some of the major, game control stuff tonight was because they fouled so much. And they put Dayton on the line so much. And Dayton made all the free throws. So guess what? You make a free throw. You have 4 guys back. There is no beating anybody down the floor. There is no pressure. Dayton gets to sit up their press, which even if it wasn't a press that causes turnovers, it slows you down. You're not getting into your offense. I looked a bunch of times. They were not really getting into any flow of an offense until 18, 17, 16 seconds on the shot clock. It's really hard to run offense in those situations.
Yeah.
They because of their play, because of their mistakes, because of their poor execution, they gifted Dayton game control, and Dayton did not screw it up. They said, okay, thank you. We're going to sit here and take advantage of your sloppiness. And I think between the Xavier game and this game, maybe you see it differently than me, but being sloppy is at the top of my list on what happened over the past 2 Saturdays. They were sloppy.
Yeah. And I think, the offense, from what I saw, it was a lot of just get it down low. And CMOS said that they did a good job of denying their reversals. And then it was stuck to one person, and then they couldn't move the ball. And it just seemed like it would be Vic or Aziz down low, and then they'd try to look for someone coming around to get a shot. And then Dayton guarded them well because, like you said, they had control and they knew what was going to happen, basically. And then you can't get any shots up. You can't get any good looks. So then that person with the ball in the paint is just kind of running around, and then they try to make a move and it gets blocked, and then they fumble the ball, or they put up a bad shot, or they basically pray they get fouled. I think that's a lot of what happened. But then when you pray to get fouled and you get fouled, you have a 50% chance to make the free throw based off the clip tonight. So it was a lot. It was all disjointed on both sides of the ball. And this team loves to run and get out in transition. And as you just mentioned, Dayton did not let that happen. They want to play slow. They played slow. And I think they knew every little thing they had to do to get to that point. So yeah, they took 21 threes and then they got beat in the paint. Or Dayton took 21 threes and then they beat Cincinnati in the paint, knowing that if they do get fouled, they can control the pace on the other end and take away Cincinnati's best superpower, which is just playing free. And, you know, you're playing in transition, someone gets lost, and then a CJ Frederick is open, a Jizzle James is open, Vic gets left at the top of the key for a three, he's open, or there's an oop opportunity. Like, that's your offense, and none of that happened tonight. It was all uncomfortable, all felt forced, and it did not help Cincinnati in one bit.
Yeah, really the only flow was in the second half when they did, Jizzle and Day did start to get downhill a little bit. That has opened things up both in the second half of the Xavier game and the second half of this game, but there's not enough of it. And there's not enough. I mean, I think it's time to start wondering, you know, we hoped when you looked at this roster, you said there's not a lot of weakness. But maybe what we didn't talk about enough is there's not a lot of like upper tier strength. When you go back and you watch what Quincy Olivari did to UC, when you watch what Deron Holmes did to UC, who is that guy for UC to do that to somebody else? It's not good enough to say, well, we're just going to ride the hot hand, right? Like, Xavier knew it was going to be Quincy Olivari or it was going to be Des Claude. Cincinnati did a good job on Des Claude. They did not do, ultimately, over 40 minutes, a good job on Quincy Olivari. Coming into tonight, you knew you had to stop Deron Holmes, and then Kobe Elvis was like the next guy on the scouting report. Well, they did a terrible job on both of those guys. Keegan, if you're writing, let's ask it like this. If you're writing a scouting report on Cincinnati right now, who do you say, we have to stop this guy for Cincinnati?
I guess your most efficient option would be Vic, just because of how he can score close to the basket. But
they're not playing him close to the basket now. They're playing him away from the basket.
Yeah, I don't think there is anyone. And that's the thing. Through the first phase of the schedule, my takeaway from what they were doing was, this is a team where Dan can score 20, Vic can score 20, CJ can go off and score 20. Like, they have so many options. And
but
now
here's the problem. You don't go into any one game knowing this is the guy that can get you 18, 20, right? Yeah. Much less who's the guy that can get you 28 or 30 or 34. Day gets you 12 on 5 of 13 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. He only takes 2 free throws. So, this talk about the point guard spot and those guys being the guys to like initiate this thing. Day shot 2 free throws. Jizzle shot none. Day was 5 of 13. Jizzle was 3 of 8 from the floor.
Remember the first half, second half discrepancy with Day?
With Day, yeah.
Scored all 12 points in the second half.
Yeah.
So that is a worry.
Well, but here's the other concern, Keeg. He took 1 shot in the first half, and it was a 3. What?
1 assist, 1 personal foul, 1 turnover. A lot of ones.
Yeah. So he didn't give you anything in the first half. It wasn't like he had a bad first half. He didn't do anything in the first half. That can't happen.
You have to have a guy that's going to create momentum in the first half to lead your offense. So
Shall we look at the first half?
It's not pretty.
Aziz scored 5. He had a lob dunk to open the game. in that first segment, he also had the lob and one where it seemed like he jammed his back a little.
Yeah, he came out.
He scored. Those were the only 5 points he scored in the first half. CJ Frederick hit a 3 and like a little mid-range, like not mid-range, a little closer to mid-range, but he had 5. Jizzle had 5. Hit a 3 at the was that at the end of the half that he hit that 3?
I think so. Let me look.
He goes 2 for 4, hits 1 3 towards the end of the half. You have 3 guys with 5. Dan had 4. Seamoss had 4. Odie with 2. Jamil with 2. Vic with 2. John Newman didn't score. Day didn't score. In contrast, Holmes had 12. Ellis had 10. Kobe Barea had 9.
One team goes in the locker room knowing they're playing for the second half. The other is searching, as Wes said.
One team, like if I'm Dayton, you know what I go into the locker room thinking, Keegan?
What?
We have the best players on the floor. We have the 2 best players on the floor and a third option that is better than anything else they have. Like if he keeps it up, if he stays hot.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati goes into halftime thinking, who is gonna step up? Who is gonna be that guy? Like it's just they don't have their identity on offense is share, move the ball, find the open guy, and the open guy makes a shot. When the other team takes that away, they do not have yet throw the ball to this guy, and he is going to solve those problems. I felt coming into the season it was going to be Seamoss. That has not developed yet. Maybe the second half tonight was a step in the right direction there. He's dealt with some shit that's, got hit by a car.
I don't know the statute of limitations on when you can be like, okay, figure it out after getting hit by a car.
After the Dayton game. He played well enough tonight that we're putting that in the statute of limitations.
Okay? That's the Bearcat Journal stamp of criticism from now on.
But who is the answer? And maybe it's Day with the way he has played in the second half of both of those games. But guess what? He's got to show up in the first half. Because if Day has 10, 8, 7 in the first half, now he's pushing 20 in the second half. And you feel like you've got a guy that you can ride. If Jizzle does that, like we saw in the first half of the Xavier game, and then backs it up, we won't get into, again, why did that happen in the first half of the Xavier game? Probably because he was being guarded by Trey Green, and he cooked him. He wasn't guarded by in the second half? Trey Green. Like, I don't know who the answer is that this team is going to XYZ, and we feel confident that they're going to get us 2 or 3 baskets. It's not, you don't stop an opponent's run with 1 basket. Because guess what? There's a lot of 14-2 runs.
Yeah.
1 basket didn't stop that 14-2 run when it was a 8-0 run. No, they still continued to run after you scored your basket. Who's going to be the guy to go get you? We talked about in the Xavier game. They brought it to within 1 in that early portion of the middle portion of the second half. And then boom, X took it back to 8. And then you come out at the start of the second half, and you take the lead by 3, and boom, X is up by 8. And then you get it down at the end, You're down by 11. You cut it to 4, and then boom, X answers again. Right now, this team doesn't have anyone that has said, I got this.
I think in terms of that attitude, I think it's Jizzle. Because if you think about it, if you didn't have
I
Jizzle,
have, and I disagree.
if you didn't have Jizzle against Xavier, that outcome is very similar to tonight's against Dayton. Like, I don't think
Okay,
that's
but guess what? In the Big 12, Jizzle's not going to get Trey Green on him for 6 minutes.
okay. He was still in a very hostile environment and just went at the rim.
Yeah, he cooked the guy that he was better than. I what I'm saying is I don't know how often you're going to get that advantage with the freshman where I'm going to put my freshman on your freshman and my freshman's going to kick your freshman's ass. Generally, it's going to be, here is my freshman on your fifth-year senior, because that's where we're at right now in college basketball. And you might get 4 points. You might play well. You might go 3 of 5 from the floor, and you get 6 or 7 points in a 12-minute stretch. Who is the guy that's going to do what Quincy Oliveri did when Cincinnati went up 3? And then he just went nuclear and changed the entire flow of that game. Who is the guy that's going to do what Deron Holmes did tonight when every time there was game pressure, Dayton went to their best player and he responded? Who is Cincinnati going to go to in a Big 12 game against BYU, Texas, Baylor, Oklahoma? Like, the list goes on and on. Who are they going to go to in those moments to say, we're going to stop your run? And on the flip side of that, who are they going to go to get stops? Because if you don't get stops, you can't. That was the main thing for me tonight, Keegan. We sat there talking about it the entire game. It didn't matter what Cincinnati's offense did because they couldn't stop Dayton. Once Dayton got up 6, 7 points, there was no coming back for Cincinnati. The defense has me worried.
Do you think Odi Oguama makes a return to a very rotational player instead of 7 minutes like he got tonight?
I don't know what he solves. Is he a stopper?
I think he would have been better on Holmes than Aziz.
I disagree.
Okay.
I've never seen Odie stop a guy like that. I've got 3 years of Odie tape. What was the biggest problem in AAC play? Every time they played a high level guy like Holmes, they destroyed Cincinnati. So I don't have a lot of faith in. I know you were covering a different beat then, so you don't have the photographic memory of all those moments. Cincinnati was unable to stop that guy well long before this year. And now it's not only that guy that's torching him, it's the guard that's torching them as well. They're getting burned by the 4 and the 2. Uh-oh. Because if you're in the Big 12 and the 4 and the 2 can go for 25 each, there's not a whole lot of wins coming in January and February and March. This was concerning with what Elvis and Holmes did tonight to this Cincinnati defense.
Do you think there needs to be a change in what Aziz is doing? Because obviously his strength defensively is shot blocking.
What do you change?
You just roll him to whoever is down there and give him action on the ball instead of just having him do post defense.
His strength is off-ball rim protection.
Yeah.
So the problem with that is everybody is going to single him up with their post entry. They're not going to throw it to the other guy. They're going to throw it to the guy that he's guarding, because until he shows he can stop the guy right in front of him, I'm going to throw the ball to the guy that's got him one-on-one. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have to take the other side of the strategy into it. Teams aren't going to test Aziz playing weak side and allowing, that to be what does them in. They're going to say, okay, we're going to get our guys singled up on him. And some of this, you know what really bothered, one of the things that really bothered me tonight was that they're not doing a good enough job on ball screens individually. So now when you're not doing it, it's called icing ball screens. What icing ball screens means is you're not going to hedge, you're not going to blitz, you're going to count on your guy being able to get over the ball screen and defend. They've not been good at that. So now we saw them switch some tonight. And we saw them switch some in the Xavier game. Well, now you're switching and you're creating mismatches. And you're only switching because you're not being able to get over top of the ball screen. So you switch the ball screen, and now you put, a big on a guard or a big on a wing. And then you've got on the opposite side, the guard on the big. And you're just throwing the entire recipe off. We have not seen this team yet be able to just communicate and pass guys off. Or ultimately, if you're going to ice ball screens, your guy better be able to get over the top of the ball screen and fight through it and be there to play defense. And early in the first half, I think there were 3 or 4 Dayton threes that came from bad ball screen coverage, where all of a sudden the guy is just standing there wide open. You know what's not a problem with tight rims, Keegan? When you don't hit the rim. And Dayton didn't hit the rim in any of those situations. So your ball screen coverage is bad, and you're leaving a wide open shooter that can knock down a wide open shot. Weston's got a lot of questions to answer in terms of how this team is defending. Because what they want to do is not working, and what they're doing to cover up those deficiencies is not working. And then they tried zone. They played 2-3. They played 1-3-1. I think I leaned to you at one point in time and said they played 5 or 6 trips of zone defense, and Dayton had 5 made baskets and a trip to the free throw line. It's not as everybody, of course, because everybody is looking for an answer. I don't fault fans for that. Play zone. The man-to-man isn't working. Play zone. Then they go to zone, and they give up 6 of 6 in zone. There's a reason they're not playing zone. It's not working.
I also think, I don't know if there's an answer of you do this and then everything's fixed. I think this team still has to fix a lot of stuff. And there is technique things that need to be better in terms of fouling. There's rotations that need to be figured out. You have to figure out how Jamil is going to fit offensively and defensively. I think that is a guy who you can throw the ball to him in the post and let him go to work, and he can get you 10 to 12 a game. He can fend off runs from other teams, and I think Aziz is still adjusting, so it's going to be a process. And Wes said the whole offseason, he's like, look, we're not going to be figured out in November or December. It's probably going to be into January before we know who we are and what we need to do night in and night out. And right now, I don't know. I think he might be further behind than He thought he'd be at this point. Now the whole waiver situation threw a wrench into his plans of the trajectory for this team. But there's some stuff that needs to fix, and there's some cohesiveness that isn't there that was tested tonight. Because I think the Xavier game, you can play the Centos center card. You go on the 9-3 run, come out of the half, and you take the lead in the second half. So it was a competitive atmosphere, good rivalry game. But this one, you just got your ass kicked, like plain and simple.
It sounds like it's still a talent issue. I don't agree with that. I think there's enough talent here to win. I've seen lesser talented teams win a lot of games here.
That's why everyone's confused on why this happened, because UC is a more talented team.
Is a more talented team than they showed. I don't know that you can say they're a more talented team than Dayton, because Dayton just kicked their ass.
Yeah, I mean,
look, I'm just saying, UC is more talented than they showed tonight, but Dayton was very clearly, very significantly a better team from start to finish in this game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say UC is more talented than Dayton. They did not show it. If they are, whoo.
I mean, I look at talent on paper and looking at what I know guys can do. Like Aziz Bandego is one of the most talented players in the country just based off what he can do.
I look at talent on what I watch happen in games.
Yeah, I know. Talent doesn't decide who wins. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Well, I think UC works hard, so then we have a contrast in that philosophy, because I don't think it's for a lack of effort.
No, and that was me saying a cliche statement. I wasn't saying UC didn't try. I want that on I want that on the record.
We're just having fun with the conversation.
Yeah.
We like to have fun when we like. I know a lot of people are in complete fucking meltdown mode tonight. We're trying to bring a little levity to the situation while also being as honest as we can possibly be. That wasn't good enough.
I do love you saying, I'm trying to bring levity to the situation, and half of the 42 minutes has been, that was concerning.
It wasn't good enough. What do you want me to say?
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Everybody yell like, you're carrying water for less. You're not, you don't make, you're not. Listen to the actual shows. Watch what we say. Listen to what we talk about. That was not good enough in any way, shape, or form. They got their ass kicked. I'm never going to sit here on a night where they got their ass kicked and be like, there's some good stuff to see. There's some good stuff to find in there. No, there wasn't. There was absolutely nothing about this game that was good. Keegan, give me your good points from this game.
The New Jerseys look cool.
Right? Yeah, there you go. I like the black with the Cincy red.
I think the two contestants in the mid-game competitions were both the Cincinnati fans, so I think they won those.
Yeah. Duran, you had a great game. You're also an idiot in the comments because Cincinnati ran 6 possessions of zone, and I think Dayton scored 15 points. Shut up.
Maybe he just doesn't know how to diagnose defenses. He's still good at basketball, just doesn't know how to diagnose.
I do want to address this. Not all of it, because I think it's stupid overall. This team is not playing with the confidence in these big games. And I do think that is a snowball that rolls downhill. Once you start showing you can win these games, then you start playing with more confidence. I don't count the last 2 years. Year 1, they weren't good enough to beat anybody. Last year, they probably should have won 1 or 2 more of the marquee games, but we're talking about a 1 or 2 game difference, which really wouldn't have changed much of anything. Year 3, you have had 2 opportunities in games that matter, games that really are impactful on your NCAA tournament resume. They're 0-2. One game, they were close, but they weren't good enough. The other game, they simply weren't good enough. That has to change. Because if you go into January and you continue playing like this, I don't want to do these shows. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, February 8th. I don't want to be on here if this team doesn't get better. This is now 100% on Wes Miller and his staff. This team has to get better. You cannot be, Keegan, 1-5 to open the Big 12.
Sounds familiar.
You're right.
I don't know. The Day Thomas second half thing is a big red flashing light to me. I mean, I know it's not a good idea to just insert Jizzle, but you can't go into the second half on the wrong foot because your ball dominant point guard can't do anything.
He has to be better in the first half.
Yeah.
And
then going from that, it's the answer isn't just a plug and play something or change the look. It's you have to develop and you have to continue to work and practice. You have to continue to build your confidence over the next 3 games against Merrimack, Stetson, and Evansville. And I know a lot of people are going to say, go, you go.
You have to do what you're doing in the second half in the first half. Right? Imagine how different that game looks if Davion Thomas has 12 in the first half.
I think there's a level of him playing good when he's playing desperate. Like when he's playing with his hair on fire and he just knows he has to score. I think that's a level of him playing good.
Sure.
He doesn't do that early. He doesn't do it early.
Somebody light his hair on fire out of the tunnel. You know when they do the pregame introductions and you got the DAP guy at the end of the thing, and I think right now it's Rayvon.
Yeah.
Rayvon should light his hair on fire. That should be their DAP. Light Davion Thomas's hair on fire so that he's ready to do that in the first half.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
How different does this look if he plays like he did in the second half against X and Dayton in the first half of each of those games?
Can I ask you a possibly really stupid question that you could possibly be very mad at me for?
Oh, boy.
Can I?
Sure.
Do you think Rayvon changes anything? Him playing? Okay.
No.
All right.
I think if Ray was ready for that, he would be in the rotation.
Okay.
He is right now 12th. You want to know what I think, Keegan?
I knew it. What do you think?
I think we should get down to 8, maybe 9, situationally, and not 10, 11.
Yeah, it was 10 tonight. Tony asked me that on the radio if it was going to be 8 to 10 or 7 to 8.
Oh, it's 10. Right now they're at 10.
Which I asked you this, and you kind of seemed like there wasn't much to it, but I feel like developing a rhythm is significant, and I feel like
disagree.
So when Wes says I'm searching for something, I 100% understand. You're just trying to find something that will stick, but I do feel like letting guys go out there and just kind of diagnose what they need to do differently and leave them out there for another timeout than usual. I feel like that could be beneficial.
I just disagreed. This was a conversation during the game tonight where it didn't matter what they put on the floor. Everybody
playing
sucked.
the crap. Yeah.
And Keegan asked me, he said, do you think they should be subbing less? And I said, do you want to continue leaving the lineups on the floor that are getting their ass kicked? Or do you want to try to find something? Like, find something, right? Like,
now that I think about that, that's actually hilarious. Middle of the game, you just go, hey, look up at that scoreboard. It's not working.
Hey, Chad, I was wondering, Wes has been subbing a lot. What do you think? And I was like, well, he wasn't subbing a lot until they went from down 6 to down 16. And down 16, he's scrambling to try to figure out something. We did see Day and Jizzle on the floor together tonight for the first time. And I thought they were pretty good together. I don't know. Here's my question. And Kelsey just let the puppy downstairs. So I got to walk away for like 60 seconds. So I need 60 seconds from you.
Oh, gosh. I can't do this.
Okay. Can you give me 30 seconds? What is the lineup you would like to see at 3, 4, 5 when you have Day and Jizzle on the floor together? Because I have an answer, but I'm curious as to your thoughts on this one.
Oh, that's a really, really good question.
That's what I'm here for. That's
I feel like you're searching. I feel like that's just you're searching for the best all-around outcome if you have Day and Jizzle, because you know, or you at least think that they can impact both sides of the ball. I think you need a big, so you go Aziz, and you don't need Vic or Jamil in that instance. So I think Dan and John would probably be my 5. Day, Jizzle, Dan, John, Aziz. The big provides a good amount of offense if he's not playing a super skilled, super finesse forward like he did tonight, which isn't going to be a constant. I do think Darren Holmes is just one of the best players in the country. And I don't think Aziz had faced a guy to that stature yet before, because he wasn't on Georgia. I can't remember who Georgia Tech's player was. He was a forward, but he wasn't like Darren Holmes. So
he's gonna be. That kid at Georgia Tech's gonna be elite. It was his first game.
No, not the freshman.
Oh, okay.
They're like, I think it was like Miles something. I can't remember his name.
I would go Day, Jizzle. I have to have CMOS on the floor in that situation because I need a shooter, facilitator kind of guy next to them. I think the question for me there is CJ or John. I don't want Dan on the floor with those two.
I don't want CJ on the floor with those two.
I do, because they can play downhill. I think you're at your best offensively when the combo of CJ and CMOS are out there together, because they understand how to move the ball. I think right now the answer is probably Vic. I think in 2 weeks the answer is probably Jamil. Day, Jizzle,
CMOS, Jamil.
CMOS, CJ, Jamil. You have offense and defense.
You have defense in that lineup?
Yeah.
You have more defense in my lineup.
You have more defense in your lineup. You have no offense in your lineup.
See, that's where I'm coming from when you say the thing about who's going to go get you a bucket. I think Jizzle can shoot.
I disagree so far.
You don't think he can shoot?
I think he's okay. I think he's a 33% three-point shooter.
All right.
When I think of shooter, I think of 42%. Do you think Jizzle right now is a 42% three-point shooter?
No.
Okay. When I don't think of a shooter as a guy that shoots 34%.
Big Al
I
gave
think
you
a
the answer.
I think a guy that shoots 34% is a guy that like the defense has to respect, but you were a catcher, right? You have that guy that has like 8 home runs, but like 130 strikeouts. Like, yeah, we can't throw it in his hit zone because he might hit one out. But if we throw it in his cold zone, he's going to strike out every time. So I don't know. Maybe you insert a John Newman in there to be like kind of a Jizzle, Day Newman 1 through 3. I don't know, man. Here's the other problem. Here's the other major problem I have when it comes to dissecting what's about to happen starting January 1st. I've watched enough Big 12 basketball to be familiar with Big 12 basketball. I have not dissected enough of this league to know night by night this is what's coming with every team. I'm not there yet. Like we're all going through this league the first time, just like we did in football.
I watched a lot of Kansas today. Hunter Dickinson is annoying.
What did I tell you? KJ Adams is that dude.
Yeah, he had an all right game. It was Kevin McCullers. Kevin McCullers went bonkers.
KJ Adams was also like the glue guy in how they came back.
Yeah.
KJ Adams is a dog.
Jacked too. Like he looks like a linebacker.
He looks like a Bob Huggins Bearcat, does he not?
Yeah. My back to the lineup thing. My thing was CJ. Like you can use the same thing to not play CJ as everyone's saying why you don't play Dan. It's because they're not shooting well. Like those are two guys who you haven't gotten what you needed from 3.
No, you have to play CJ. You just have to know when you play CJ, he's not going to beat anybody off the bounce. That's not his game. He's not like catching it. Aziz gets a rebound. He throws it out to Day Thomas. Day advances it up the wing to CJ Frederick. He's not pump faking and driving you to the rim and finishing with a layup. That's not his game. He doesn't have that in his bag, right? Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
So that's what concerns me. If you're we've talked about this a lot, like on and off the air, you believe they should make CJ like a more of a focal point to this offense. I don't disagree with you because he can be an elite shooter. I do disagree with you in that I don't know that there's a bunch of ways you can make CJ like super, like, I guess the way to put it is like, do you really believe there's a way that they can make CJ Frederick a first team all Big 12 guy?
No, he'd have to shoot 48% from 3
on 7 shots a game.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can get him that type. Like, I go back to last year with Landers. Like, teams lost their shit when the ball hit Landers' hand. All he had to do was half a pump fake. Dude goes flying by him. He takes one relocation step and makes a 3. He did that probably 60% of the threes he made, it felt like. It was probably more like 40. But, like, that has not been something that CJ has shown is really a part of his game because they don't really have to respect, like, the pump fake and then the go.
Yeah.
Maybe he can add that over the next couple weeks, but I'm just talking about we're 3 games away from Big 12 play. I don't feel like here you want me to give you a real sobering
I don't need to be sobered after tonight. Oh my gosh.
adjusted defense. BYU 7, Kansas 6, Baylor. Wow, Baylor's not as good on D. Wow, Baylor's 71 in defense adjusted deficiency. Iowa State 4, Houston 1, Oklahoma 8.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas is a little bit farther down than I thought they would be. Texas 60 in adjusted defense. But the point being, there are a bunch of teams coming up over the next month that are going to take away what you do offensively. That means you better figure out how to stop them on the flip side, right? Houston adjusted offense 16. BYU adjusted offense 15. Kansas adjusted offense 38. Baylor adjusted offense 4. Iowa State adjusted offense 49. Oklahoma 35. I mean, you get the point. TCU 56. But there's nobody you're going to face that's bad on either side of the ball. Dayton was bad on defense. And they shit on Cincinnati tonight because their offense dictated the game. They got to the free throw line. They did not allow Cincinnati's offense to really ever find a rhythm. So their defense looks better. You know why their defense looks better? Because they got 5 guys back standing there waiting to defend you at all times. There was hardly ever, it felt like, a miss where Cincinnati got the ball and was able to just go. It's concerning, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's concerning. The thing I look at, Keegan, is I say last year when I looked at this team, I knew who the offense ran through. The offense ran through David DeJulius. It ran through Landers Nolly. Who does this offense run through? And if you say Jizzle James again, I'm going to kick you when I see you again.
It doesn't run through anyone. We don't have anyone at the moment.
That's a problem, right? That's uh-oh. Uh-oh. You're about to have to put your big boy pants on, and you might not own any big boy pants. Like, you're not going to be able to make a trade. You're not going to be able to go out in free agency and pick somebody up.
Oh, he almost had one. He just left Kansas State and went to where? Georgetown?
Yeah, I mean, he's not a guy you run offense through. He's a bouncy, you know. I think you would have had the same problem with Jaquan Newton. He's a guy that complements other guys. Is he a dude?
Is
Kathy
he
says,
guy?
no kidding. Right. Who is the guy? That's where we're at in this conversation right now on December 17th. Who is the guy? Who is go get me a bucket? I think the best answer for that question when I look at this roster is Simas Lukosius. He did answer that bell a little bit tonight, Jimmy. I want you to be right. I would love it to be Jizzle. It's not Jizzle right now. Next year, the 2024-2025 season, it might be. We're not there yet. Henry, if you're running offense through John Newman, I don't know what to tell you. I love John Newman. John Newman is a vital piece to this team's success.
Maybe the
I'm
most.
not running my offense through him. The problem is, as a coach, I don't know who I'm running my offense through. I don't have that. That answer is not available on paper. And my defense stinks. So
I'm running it through.
Stinks, Keegan.
I'm running it through Day Thomas in the second half. Only the second half, Day Thomas.
Only the second half, right?
Yeah.
You better kick him in the rear end and say, "Hey, guess what? We have 20 minutes of action before halftime." The reality is there's a lot of, unfortunately, because of the Xavier and Dayton games, there are more questions than there are answers.
And the questions,
the answers have not presented themselves yet. That's concerning. Thank God. You're lucky I didn't make you do this from the top row of Heritage Bank Center.
You're
right. Anything else you got? We're over an hour here, so I'm ready to go to bed. I'm tired.
George Gums, 6'4", 245.
I'm fascinated by this kid.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's what I'd say about him. And
we should give background for people that aren't familiar.
Go ahead.
Edge rusher from Northern Illinois, Cincinnati football just landed him today. Walt Stewart wanted him very badly, and he got him. So Walt Stewart is good at his job.
There are a bunch of guys that we watch every Sunday in the NFL that have this kind of backstory.
Yeah.
Started as a 6'4", 180-pound receiver, got to college, got on the right weight program, got on the right training regimen. All of a sudden, he's 6'4", 260. He goes from wide receiver to tight end to defensive end. I'm excited for the addition of this guy.
And you get two guys that you didn't have, like the two archetypes you didn't have last year. Like Micah Coleman and George Gums is what you were missing last season.
Right.
And then you just say, okay, go play. Now play next to Dante Corleone and get a bunch of one-on-ones, and Eric Phillips, who he hasn't officially announced he's coming back, but he hasn't said he's leaving.
Eric is the guy that's not going to say anything.
Yeah, so I go forward as he's going to play.
Until he says he's not coming back. I also have him in the same boat as like Xavier Henderson, who we've learned is coming back, or people say is coming back, or whatever. And say I'm out. Guess what used to happen in college sports?
They would just
show have to say. You didn't have to say I'm staying. You just stayed. The only thing you had to say was I'm leaving.
Yeah.
If you're not leaving,
X didn't even say he was coming, so he's definitely not going to say he's staying. He just posted a picture in the athletics office one day.
The day he arrived.
Story.
In the gear, like I'm going to school here. Oh, well, I guess that's official.
Okay.
Al, did we play our best ball in November? No. I think this team's best ball is still ahead of them. I do go back to last year. At this point in time last year, they were bad defensively. And they improved significantly to the end of the year. Now, that's going to be an entirely different challenge this season in year one in the Big 12. We all have the same concern. You don't get to get right anymore against Tulsa, ECU, whatever, Wichita State. You don't there's no get right games anymore. You have to be right every game. And this team has 2 games that they were required to answer the bell, and it didn't happen. Straight up. Me to you, it didn't happen. They didn't answer the bell against Xavier. They didn't answer the bell against Dayton. And that is concerning. It's concerning for me. It's concerning for Keegan. It's concerning for Wes Miller and everybody on the staff and every player on the team. They see the same shit that we do. They live it way more than we do. There's a bunch of guys sitting in their dorm room right now going, how did that happen? You better get your ass in practice and figure it out. Because guess what, Keegan? Train's coming. And that light at the end of the tunnel isn't the sun. It's a train. They got to play better. They have not played well enough against X or Dayton. Period. Would you agree?
Yep.
Is that a fair assessment of things?
Yes. Silly fouls. That would be the only difference I would say is X. It was like uncharacteristic mistakes. This was just bad. Like you just played bad basketball, and Dayton played good basketball. So yeah, and I think you're a Jizzle James good first half away from X blowing you out and it not really being
right.
that close. So yeah, I just don't know. Like this is the first time that Wes is being approached with this gauntlet of a schedule to where it's not like you're 50-50 going into a bunch of AAC games. Like you're going to go to a lot of these places and most of the country is going to be expecting you to get your ass kicked.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see what he changes in terms of like, which I'm not saying now he's just thinking this because he's not stupid. He's been doing this for a long time. Ever since he formed this roster, he put it together for a very specific reason to compete in the Big 12, which I think they have the talent to do. But how you change like practices or just how you approach coaching, it's going to be interesting. And I think if they continue in this fashion, it's going to be tough.
It ain't going to be good.
Yeah.
You better get some shit figured out real quick. You basically, Keegan, you got 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, you better be a hell of a lot better than you were tonight at the Heritage Bank landfill. What a terrible arena. Let's just be honest. That place is awful.
It was really, really bad. Never play there again. Like all the plans that they've had to tear it down and build like a state-of-the-art thing that can easily host NCAA tournament games. There's no reason Cincinnati should not be hosting NCAA tournament games.
That place is a disgrace to the city.
Yes.
It's a terrible facility.
And then your whole selling point of the like this event is, oh, well, we're tearing out the seats and putting new ones in.
Yeah.
And then
we're taking out the old seats, replacing them with carbon. Basically, they just reupholstered the old seats, I'm pretty sure is what they did.
Oh, my gosh. RC Cola cans were sick, though.
Gross. You know what you did? Tell them what you did. Did you have a disgusting RC Cola when you first got there?
That was the first thing I did. I went to the fridge, I got an RC Cola, and then I posted a picture.
What did you do at halftime?
I didn't do anything at halftime. I waited
got
for
water.
Reagan to send me pictures.
You got a water.
I got a water before the game because I knew once I drank that RC cola and I felt it festering in my stomach. I was like, man, no, I'm not doing that. I don't drink pop. The only time I drank strictly pop is at basketball games. Other than that, I'm energy drinks in the morning. That's the only carbonation I have.
Those are worse than pops.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Like Celsius and stuff like that, the sugar-free ones with just a crap ton of caffeine, different. It's not as bad as Diet Coke. It's not. I'm telling you, it's not.
There's nothing as bad as an RC Cola. It was disgusting, and you know it.
There was like, what was the right? What's the right one? RITE?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the
White and
Walmart.
blue,
Yeah, no. You didn't even drink that whole RC Cola.
Diet Right. That's what it was. No,
Diet Right.
absolutely
Yeah,
not.
Diet Right. You had one sip of that RC Cola. You took a picture for the clout.
Maybe 3. All I do, everything I do is for clout. What are you talking about?
You took a picture for the clout. You set it next to your laptop, and you never touched it again.
I think.
And then I looked over, and there was a core water in its place. Core water wasn't bad. That was decent. I did not have an RC Cola. I did not have a Diet Right or whatever the hell that disgusting shit is. I went in. I had an RC or I had a core water, and that was the only thing I consumed. I did love that we were told we will have refreshments and snacks, and the snacks were basically just like
the big box that you
child's
get
big box of Lay's original potato chips, Lay's barbecue potato chips, and then
Rolled Gold pretzels.
Yeah, that was it. Those were our snacks.
Never go there again, please. Oh my gosh.
It literally is the worst major city arena in the world.
Just do a home at Dayton. Like Dayton's arena is awesome. I think that would be awesome.
Again, it was NIL related, and the players are going to get a nice chunk of change, and I'm going to make one of them buy me a quality beverage, not of the alcoholic variety, just like a Mountain Dew or like buy me one of those the little sleeves of Kool-Aid that you can put in your water so your water tastes like Kool-Aid. One of those I'd be fine with over whatever that bullshit was we had to deal with tonight at the Heritage Bank Arena. What a
Get me a Fresca.
The worst.
I love Fresca.
You absolutely would love Fresca.
That's what I love about BYU.
Yeah. We'll see you guys in a day or two. I don't know. I need some time. This shit's driving. I need a break. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.